Welcome to this episode of Path to Legend. The second season is gradually reaching its midpoint, and with a series of adjustments from GGG, the Lightning Spear Huntress has become the star of this season. When we search for PoE2 on major video platforms, countless Lightning Spear Huntress guides flood our screens. It's safe to say that this build is already well known to everyone. But in this video, we'll take you to witness those brave souls who defy the meta. Those who, through sheer wit and perseverance, carve out their own legends in the harshest of conditions. Ranked 9th in class popularity on the ladder, the master strategist who controls the battlefield, Siege Cascade Pin. Looking back at its history, we found that the earliest video showcasing this build this season was provided by a YouTuber named RagingNep, though not a particularly well-known content creator, and despite his video being a simple gameplay recording, his humble origins don't diminish his status as a mercenary hero fighting against the meta because of his determination and intelligence. Siege Cascade Pin, as the name suggests, is a unique playstyle that combines Siege Cascade as the main skill with the pin mechanic. First, let's examine how Siege Cascade works. Drops a bolt near every enemy in the targeted area. These bolts remain on the ground and explode after a short delay. But pay attention to the tips below. Siege Cascade cannot freeze or inflict stun. 200% more damage against immobilized enemies. At maximum quality, deals an additional 80% increased damage to hindered enemies. Now, here's something strange. If this skill can't freeze or stun, what's the point of dealing extra damage to hindered enemies? Let's revisit some PoE2 basics. Targets that cannot move are considered hindered. Aside from freeze and heavy stun, pin and shock can also inflict hindered. So while Siege Cascade can't freeze or stun, it can still pin enemies, applying the hindered debuff to trigger the 280% increased damage multiplier. But how do we pin enemies quickly? Let's look at the Tactician's Ascendancy nodes. Among the Tactician's Ascendancy passives, there's one that states, projectile damage builds pin. Since Siege Cascade deals projectile damage, taking this node means the skill will automatically pin enemies on hit. Another Ascendancy passive makes it so. Pinned enemies cannot take actions. Some might not realize how powerful this effect is, so let's briefly explain how pin normally works. Normally, pin prevents enemies from moving, being moved, or evading, but they can still attack in place. With this Ascendancy passive, however, pinned enemies cannot move, evade, attack, or cast spells, effectively locking them down completely. This means the higher your damage, the faster you pin enemies, the less chance they have to fight back, creating a powerful survival loop. High damage, strong crowd control, high survivability. Now let's move to the rating section. Cost. The core uniques for this build are Malagaro's Virtuosity and the Deepest Tower. On PoE2 trade, Malagaro's Virtuosity is relatively expensive, 5 Divine Orbs, while the Deepest Tower is much cheaper, Optrai 1 Exalted Orb. The build also requires a strong crossbow, since damage equals control equals survival. A decent crossbow costs around 10 Exalted Orbs, but a top tier one can be much pricier. Overall, based on guides and our calculations, this build can function well at approximately 10 Divine Orbs, making it moderately priced. Cost rating, 4.5. Strength. Normally, we evaluate a build's power by its peak, EHP plus DPS, and highest achievable level. After filtering for Siege Cascade as the primary skill, we can see that while the highest level displayed is 97, the top 2 characters aren't actually using pin-based Siege Cascade as their main build. In reality, the highest level character genuinely playing this build as their primary setup is only level 95. Shockingly, their DPS sits at a mere 10,000, with EHP barely reaching 8,000. Figures that pale in comparison to mainstream builds. It's truly baffling how such modest EHP and DPS values could possibly carry a character to this level. This is precisely where the build's strength lies. While the tooltip shows only 10k DPS, the pin mechanic enables a terrifying 280% more damage while completely ignoring enemy evasion. Moreover, the Tactician can summon additional artillery ballista totems that inherit your auras, raining down volleys of explosive arrows to create a genuine siege effect. This massive AoE damage pins surrounding enemies, disabling their attacks, allowing even 8k EHP to comfortably handle endgame maps. Therefore, after evaluating DPS, EHP, and peak level performance, I'm awarding this build bonus points for its intangible strengths, resulting in a 4.5 strength rating. Uniqueness. We continue to evaluate this build's distinctiveness by analyzing its representation across 3 key metrics. 1. Class adoption rate on the leaderboard. 2. Core equipment usage, share. 3. Skill setup prevalence. Applying a modified Herfindahl-Hirschman index HHI calculation, we quantify the build's concentration dispersion to objectively measure its uniqueness. The data reveals Tactician occupies merely 2% of the current season's leaderboard, rank number 9, and Siege Cascade appears in only 0.8% of all ladder builds. This confirms pin-based Siege Cascade as a legitimately niche build and a bold anti-meta challenger that defies the Lightning Spear Huntress dominance, a pioneering path for solitary mercenaries seeking self-imposed challenges. Final uniqueness score, 4.8. Practicality. From the moment you first acquire Siege Cascade and unlock the Tactician's Ascendancy, this skill becomes your permanent companion, requiring no transitional replacements throughout your journey. Its devastating AoE firepower, cinematic explosive visuals, and peerless crowd control elevate map-clearing satisfaction by multiple tiers. However, 2 limitations exist. Projectile travel time. Both Siege Cascade bolts and artillery ballista arrows hover mid-air before detonating. Against ultra-fast enemies, this delay may cause missed hits, necessitating investment in projectile speed. 2. Ammo system. As a reload-based skill, ammunition depletion is possible. This is elegantly mitigated by Shard Scavenger's buff, refills ammo by consuming enemy ailments, and the Tactician's 50% reduced soul cost for buffs, ensuring seamless sustain. Final practicality score, 4.65. Value. By averaging scores from cost, 4.5, strength, 4.5, uniqueness, 4.8, and practicality, 4.6, we derived the overall value rating, 4.6. That concludes this episode of Path to Legends. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe and follow us. See you next time.